During a live stream, I was asked if it's possible to make a lyric video in DaVinci Resolve. And yeah, it's definitely possible. It's just a little bit of text on screen.
There's a world inside my head. I get lost.
It would really come down to what exactly do you want it to look like. You could have really complex animations for the text to come on and off screen, or you could do something that's a little simpler, but it gets, the whole idea of a lyric video across. It shows you the lyrics with the timing based off of whatever the song is you're listening to. And so that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to take a song, take the lyrics for the song, and we're just going to represent them on screen with some text. And in the background, we'll have a video playing. We could edit if we need to, but it won't mess up the timing of the lyrics going across the screen. So there's a couple of things that you want to make sure of while you're setting that up. So if you ever do need to come back and change a video clip, it's not going to affect your Fusion comp and all of your timing and stuff, the stuff you spent time on actually adding these lyrics to your project. So without further ado, let's just jump into it. Explore a wide selection of pre-made creative tools for DaVinci Resolve, like titles, transitions, slideshows and infographics, like bar charts and callouts, and much, much more. Link in the description for more information. Jumping over to DaVinci Resolve, first thing you're going to want to make sure of is that your project is set up properly. So we're going to set our frame rate here, make sure your frame rate is correct. Next, I am going to grab some of my footage that I'm going to be using. If you have an actual music video or whatever it may be, throw that on here now. I'm just going to have a quick edit here. So there is pretty much my edit. Next, we're going to grab our song. Obviously, 9 times out of 10, you probably want your song to go the whole length of the video to go the whole length of your song. But because I'm just showing you how to do this, it's not that big of a deal for me right now. Once you have all of your timeline set up with all of the footage that you're going to use and your song properly in there, we're now going to turn this into what's referred to as a compound clip. Because typically, if you were to add on Fusion comps, they would just go for each individual clip, but we want our Fusion comp to go over the course of the whole thing. And this gives us another ability. Let me quickly show you. So if I highlight everything and I turn this into a compound clip, it's all going to turn into one element now. And we're going to add on the Fusion comp to this. But the cool thing, having it set up this way for this type of project, is if we ever need to go in and change maybe the timing of our edit, like the actual video that's in the background of this lyric video, we can click this little button here, which allows us to see multiple timelines in like a tab view. And we can take this compound clip, open in timeline, and now we can go in and we can edit this. So I'll just copy this clip. Oops, let me actually copy it. And we'll drop it right into here. So 1 minute, 5 seconds. So if I come over to here, 1 minute, 5 seconds, we can see that clip is now there. So you can easily edit, but not affect this clip that will then have a Fusion comp applied to it. Maybe you didn't follow me there, but just note that that is a good thing. Later, I will show you as to how it's such a good thing. Okay, so now that we have our video in here, we have our song in here. Next thing that you should make sure that you have is all of your lyrics, right? So I have all of my lyrics. And so now we're just going to go right into Fusion. Once in Fusion, I actually should pull those lyrics back up. I'm going to copy all of my lyrics. Those are like line by line, what's said in the song. And I'm going to drag down this text tool. And then in the text tool, right here, I'm just going to paste all of those lyrics that were there. And if I play this, if I play this listening to the media in, I should be able to hear the song. If you need to see waveforms, you can come up here to the spline and, not spline, the keyframe editor. And in here, typically yours is probably going to look like this. And if you drag across, it'll draw all of this, right? It'll cache the song. Let's back this up a little bit so we can see this. So it'll draw our song. But if the waveforms are too small for you and you need them bigger, you can just simply right click, new line, and then make them larger so you can see them. So now that my song's completely cached in here, I can listen to it, right? So now I'm going to have this on this screen over here, and we'll close that. And here are all of our lyrics. There's a couple of things I want to do with this first. We'll drag it up here. I'm going to change this to, let's go with 5, and maybe change the font type. All right, so how we are going to set this up is we're going to grab a rectangle. And a rectangle mask is obviously only going to allow you to see what's inside that mask. So once we connect this, we can only see the stuff that's inside. And how we're going to make this look, I'm first going to go full width, and we'll reduce this in size to just like one line like that. And I'm going to turn up this feathering a little bit so we can see maybe a little bit of both the other lines, just to add a little bit to make it look a little nicer. This is pretty much going to just simply, once one line's done, another line's going to slide in. Once that line's done, another line's going to slide in, and so forth. So that's going to be the gist of this animation. So what we're going to do is with this rectangle is we're going to determine where we actually want it to show up in the video. And if you want to have this background on with the text, we can go from the out of the text one and go to the in of the media in, and then I'll add a merge, and that'll add a merge with the text as the foreground. So now if we take this media out, drag it up, now we can see the text there. So that's pretty much what it's going to look like. And over time, other pieces of text will come in, and we'll be able to see that. I'll do something here in a second to make it a little easier to see because a lot of this is like almost white, so it's a little difficult to see. But that's pretty much it. So what we're going to do is taking this rectangle, we're going to determine where on screen we want these lyrics to show up. I'm going to have them show up down here. So that's where I would want them to show up. So now that I have that all set up, I'm going to go back to just seeing the text up here. Next, I'm going to take this rectangle, copy it, so highlighting it, Control-C, Control-V to paste it. And I'm going to grab the background down. And in the background, I'm going to click over here and get it to be yellow. So it's nice and bright. We're going to take this rectangle, connect it on. I'm going to break this connection right now, so just drag it and pull it off. And I'm going to take the text and drag it into the background output and just view that. Okay, so it's currently set up to look like that, so you can see the connections. So the background is in the background input, which is the yellow one, and the foreground is the text, right? And we're viewing it by dragging it up here so we can see that. Now, this rectangle, I'm going to reduce the soften, and I'm going to take this height and I'm going to reduce that down to a little sliver. So what we need to do now is, over the course of listening to the song, we just need to make sure that this text is right along this line, and that's going to be all of our timing. So that's pretty much what we're going to be doing now. The rectangle that goes into the text, we're going to just disconnect that just so we can see all the lyrics to make this a bit easier for us. And we're going to take the text, we're going to come over to the layout page, and then in the center, the Y, I'm just going to drag that until we get all the way down to the bottom. So we're like that. So next, we're just going to be listening to this. And once we hear the lyrics, we want to back up a little bit. You want to give a little bit of grace period right before they start to, you hear the lyrics are already being displayed. Just a very small grace period. So like right here at frame 188, we're starting to hear her sing. So maybe we'll come back a couple of frames and we'll add in our keyframe. So right? This first keyframe is going to be the keyframe that should be displaying, but we need to go back a little bit to add another keyframe so we have that animation of it coming in. So this is all going to be depending on what you think is far enough in a time period for the animation. But I'm going to click here, go back to the one that's supposed to be displaying the lyrics, and now bring it up so we can get that first lyric and get it right in the middle. So like right there. So now if I listen to this,
There's a world inside my head.
now to make this a little easier to understand what I'm doing with these keyframes, I'm just going to show it over here, right? So we're going to back this up a little bit. And so now, but right about there, I want to already be seeing the lyrics. So let me show you what I'm doing. So currently the line is straight across. That means that there's no change in its movement. If I was to click to add a keyframe, but remember I was saying right now at this frame, I want to see them. If I was to then turn this so that we can see that next set of lyrics on the line, what you'll see is we're having an increase in value. So what'll happen is from here to here, it's going to be increasing, and that's not what we want. So we will go back. Before we had it, the keyframe, the value changed. And now what we'll do is we'll come back a couple of frames a little bit, and we'll add another keyframe so that it'll lock the value in between here, right? So there's no change from this keyframe to this keyframe, but then from this keyframe to this one, there will be a change. So we'll click this button to go back to our other keyframe, and now we'll move it up. So
There's a world inside my head. I get lost in it from time to time.
So hopefully you're following me there. I think I'm just going to make this a little smaller so we can see it a little easier. There we are. All right, so let's get back to this.
From time to time.
So right before she starts talking, right about there, keyframe. Now we'll come back a couple of frames. Keyframe again, come back up, next line. Ooh, that one's quicker. Even though she's not done with this previous line, because she moves so quick, it's going to be already moving. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Okay, so there isn't a go there, but so probably right there is where I want to start to see it. Come back a little bit. Hopefully you're following along. This makes sense. And once you start going, this will go significantly quicker. All right, so that's pretty much it in a nutshell. There isn't much more to it than that. So what we'll do next is now we add this into our timeline, and then we'll view it and see what it looks like so far. So taking this stuff that has the yellow line, we can pretty much remove it. So we're just going to disconnect the text. And then that rectangle, we're going to connect that back. For now, I'll just move this over and connect this into the foreground of this merge that has the media in going in as the background. And now we have our line there, and each line is showing up correctly. So the media out node takes it back to the timeline. So if we come back over to the timeline, we can see these 3 little stars here. That means that there's a Fusion comp connected to this. And depending on how your DaVinci Resolve set up, you should have render cache enabled, which is this red line that goes across the top. And then it'll turn it into a render cache, which what it's doing is it's computing the Fusion comp and it's turning it into a video file so that your computer can play it back in real time. Makes things easier for editing. So I'll let a little bit of this cache quick, and then we'll take a look and see what that looks like. Okay, let's go full screen here, and we'll listen to it.
There's a world inside my head. I get lost in it from time to time. No one has a spare key, the only one is inside of me. Go, I don't really dare to escape. Fall out in another space.
So this is fine. It is a little difficult to see some of this. So I'm going to show you quickly something else that we can also add in here. So on this text node, if we come over to shading, and this allows you to add different elements onto your text. You can add a ton of them. I'm just going to add a second one here. And there's some defaults, like this says red outline. We don't want that. We're going to turn it back to appearance of a normal A. And then let's turn this to black. And we'll come down here to position, offset. And if we just look at this, and we move this, we should see that there is a little bit of now we're making like pretty much a drop shadow, and we can come into softening and maybe make this a 1 and a 1 so it gets a little blurred. I'll connect this back up. Now if we take a look at this, I don't know about you, but I think that that looks significantly easier to read on this white or a brighter area. So that's pretty much that in a nutshell, but let me show you one other thing with this whole compound clip. So if I come back to the compound clip and let's say, oh, I don't want these to be red. I want all of them to be blue. We could simply go over to the color page quick, come into this one, and with that new color warper, I can bring this over to the blue, come into here, do the same thing, into here. Simple as that. Let me show you that what gets really cool then, right? So once we do that, come back over to the edit page. So we see all of that. Come over to here, and all of this already has all of those new colors with all of our texts all aligned up and everything. So that's why I would do it in this manner, so that if we ever need to go back and change anything, we could easily do that, but maintain all of our timing for our lyrics on there. There was one other thing that I noticed, that she has a little break somewhere in here. I don't remember exactly where it is, but I think it was like, I don't know. Let me let it cache a little bit, and I'll show you here in a sec. All right, well, that's pretty much making a lyric video in a nutshell. Like I said, you could go all sorts of crazy directions with this, but I feel like something like this is definitely better than just having plain text on the screen that turns on and off very abruptly. And this kind of like has a little bit of a scroll. You could also add an easing. I have videos on adding easing into different things. But you know, like I said, you could go all sorts of different directions with this. And I feel like this kind of serves the purpose of being able to see lyrics on the screen and it doesn't take a crazy amount of time to create. So that's all I have for you guys. Hopefully you guys found that interesting. Maybe you learned a thing or two. Hopefully you did. And yeah, with that being said, my name's JR. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Have a good one, guys.